mind shift that needs to happen for business owners, regardless of the size of your business. Whether your business is focused on social impact or not, any for-profit business needs to be mindful.
If business is the driver of growth, how can it be done in a way that is of benefit not only to shareholders, but to the workers, to the community, to the environment, to the society, and also just tackling some of the biggest things that we're seeing in terms of inequality and prosperity on the continent.
Businesses make up over 80% of the economy. In East Africa, the challenge is mighty, and indeed in the whole of the African continent. We've attributed it to government to solve the problem for us. We have never really thought about our contribution as private sector.
If measuring what matters is what businesses are about, then we also have to measure what really matters over and above economic profit. So we created what we call the B Impact Assessment, the BIA, a free confidential tool that helps you measure your social and environmental impact holistically on the business operations and the business model that you've created for your organization.
Case in point, the items that we measure: your relationship with your employees in our workers section. We also measure your relationship with your community, your customers, your suppliers, and your relationship with the environment in which you operate. And then lastly, we measure your governance structures to see whether whatever measures you put in place can be carried on for generations.
When Soko came across the B Impact Assessment tool, I think what that does is it shows you that there's people who've sat down and come up with a matrix that you can measure yourself against. And so impact has always been one of the core foundations and values of this business. But as you grow the business, you're always trying to figure out how to measure impact and do things. But businesses get busy. And so sometimes the focus can slip. And so you start wondering, how do you measure yourself?
Initially, coming into this market as a social enterprise, there's literally nothing that's like governing how we do things. After the BIA, I would say the biggest change for us is structures, not just around issues of impact or environment, but also our own internal structures, so around operations. So right now, I'd say we are actively measuring ourselves against our targets.
For us, it was just, this is great, this is something that we can plug in and then use as an accountability tool for ourselves, so that we never ever lose sight of some of our core mission bits. And so that's why when we came across B Impact Assessment, it seems to be a glove fit for us.
We could be creating impact, but to some level there are things that we felt we could be leaving out. And that is why we went for the B Impact Assessment, because these help us to focus more on some of the things that technically in the normal business running would not have paid more attention to it, because we realized that as B Corps we need to take care of the environment, which is okay, is our line of business, the community, and also the staff that we work with. And so the B Impact Assessment tool has actually helped us to focus more on the impact we create, and also explore some of the areas that in one way or the other we have been leaving out.
Right now, we are 42 B certified companies in East and South Africa. We are hoping to increase the number of companies that are using the impact assessment.
You measure things because you're saying, I want to be accountable for things that we care about. So if you really care about something, but you have no accountability around it, that communicates what you really think about that thing.
Take the impact assessment test. You will be able to tell what you're doing well and what you're not doing well. You will be able to see whether your presence is having a positive impact. With that baseline, you can make decisions about the strategy of your business.
The best reward we can give the society, the best reward we can give to the environment as businesses, is to use the power of business as a force for good.
A different kind of capitalism can exist. We want there to be a different kind of business, a business that doesn't exist only for profit, but profitable solutions for people and planet.
Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. My apologies for that technical challenge. I trust everybody's doing well. And if you're on the East African time zone, you probably had an opportunity to have lunch. So far, so good. It has been a great and fantastic day today as we had our first ever ASSEK annual conference. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I'm really excited because in the morning sessions, we had keynotes, or rather we had different sessions ranging from partnerships for a stronger and more cohesive entrepreneurial community. That was done by Brenda Kibiku, and also unlocking public-private partnerships to drive innovation. That was done by Anne Lawi. She did a good job on that one. The role of associations in unlocking hub potentials, conversation with hubs across Africa. That was the most recent one, handled by Nekesa Were. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we have been doing a phenomenal job, fantastic job, if I might say, on our Twitter. Remember, the hashtag is ASSEK 2020. That's ASSEK 2020, or we can also use more for ESOs. And if you're yet to follow our page, you can go to ASSEK News, at ASSEK News. That's on Twitter. Now, I want to use this special opportunity to welcome everybody that's with us on Zoom, YouTube, or via the website. The next session is purely virtual. I'm really excited because this next session brings together a constellation of people who are phenomenal when it comes to this particular discourse. And to help us in moderating the next session, I'd like to welcome Mr. Jonas Tesfu, I hope I said that right, the CEO and co-founder of Pangia Accelerator, and he'll be taking us through the discussion of digital collaboration partnerships in Kenya. Jonas, are you there? And we're waiting for Jonas to, oh, Jonas is here. Thank you for that. So maybe Jonas, I'd love you to just unmute your mic, put on your camera if you can, and then you can take over the discussion. Oh, he's saying the sound and camera is not on. All right, I think technical can help us handle that. I think it's probably on your side because I see your mic is muted. So I think it's definitely something that I think we can solve. So as we get ready to, the mic is not muted on my end. Oh, okay, that's strange. And all right, I think our technical is trying to handle that particular challenge. But anyway, ladies and gentlemen, in case you had a few questions at the beginning of, or rather at any other session today, please feel free to send in your questions at the, you can use the chat box. If you made, there's a team that's definitely ready to handle and ensure that that is done. And also, if you're watching us via probably YouTube, yeah, you also have a chat box that you definitely can use so that you will be able to also, you know, ask your questions and get a possible reply. So Jonas, I think Jonas is trying to sign back in for this particular session. So we'll just give Jonas a couple of seconds as he comes back on board, and then we will be ready to commence this second session, or rather this post-lunch session of the ASSEK annual conference. Remember, Twitter is where it's all happening. That's where the conversation is happening. ASSEK, hashtag ASSEK 2020, and also hashtag more for ESOs. The Twitter handle is at ASSEK News, at ASSEK News. That's ASSEKNEWS. So we'll just give
I'm Amelia, and this is the SOMA project. SOMA was started because we saw that there are amazing entrepreneurs in low-income urban areas around the world. But these entrepreneurs are not given access to the resources they need to build impactful businesses. So we come in to give them these resources. We provide them with training, capital, mentorship, and market access to help them build sustainable businesses that bring positive social change to their communities.
I'm Rose. I'm the co-founder of Natural Bounty Nut Peanut Butter.
Hi guys, my name is Joshua, the co-founder of Nutrition Palace.
My name is Lilian Oyugi, the co-founder of Yototo Yogurt.
My name is Alan. I'm the founder of Portable Voices Creatives.
We look both for entrepreneurs that are building businesses that are sustainable and also bring social impact to the communities that they're from. So that social impact can be that they are selling life-enhancing product or service to the people in their community, or it can also be that they are providing employment to a group of people that historically has had high rates of unemployment.
Through SOMA, I've really learned a lot of things. Like going out to survey or talk to customers actually was really difficult for me. I went through SOMA, I realized that my potential are big and I'm able to talk to anyone. And also helped me in doing my records. Before I could sell, but I was not able to put down what I've sold like in a day or a month.
We are running a healthy and nutritious food cafe in Kibera slums, and the reason why we started this is because of the unhealthy food options in our community. Our farm is located at the outskirts of Kibera slums, and basing our fact that we have a very clean borehole water that we are very much sure of, we produce very healthy and organic farm products. Currently, we've been able to serve up to 20,500 people in my community.
I have always wanted to make sure that my yogurt is present in all schools around Kibera because there's a huge problem of malnutrition. My biggest inspiration has actually been the fact that I'm a mother to 4 amazing girls. Through the SOMA project, they have walked the journey with me. They believed in my dream and my passion. They held my hands. They made me look at my passion differently as a business that has a huge potential of being sustainable and having a huge social impact in my community. In a nutshell, that is Yototo.
I'm the founder of Portable Voices Creatives, a company that is focused on digital publishing and podcasting for audiobooks and podcast series about local stories and African stories. Our main is to enable people, especially the creatives and the knowledge holders, to be able to express themselves and also be able to document African stories and traditions.
We walk with our entrepreneurs in this process. We're there every step of the way to help them with getting their first orders to their first investments outside of SOMA that they're receiving. Every piece of that journey, we're there by their side, being a partner to them as they build these amazing businesses.
Hi guys, first of all, welcome to the first annual ASSEK conference. And my name is Jonas Tesfu. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Pangea Accelerator. We have a very exciting lineup here of great speakers, both from Kenya and also from Norway, that I'm very happy to have on board. And thank you so much for all the panelists for taking your time and joining this great event. And also for the audience, to just give you a short brief what the purpose of this event is to highlight achieved progress with the digital collaboration partnership between Kenya and Norway that was started in 2019. This event attempts to bring together stakeholders from the Kenyan ecosystem and the Norwegian startup ecosystem to explore both opportunities in terms of collaboration and also to have an understanding of what's happening in both ecosystem. This dialogue will focus on ICT as on digitalization, but we also have experts within the fintech ecosystem and also the health tech ecosystem. Starting off though, I would like to maybe introduce some of the great panelists that are here. Maybe I could start off with Bernard Shira, the chairperson for ASSEK, and if you could do a very brief introduction. Okay, as we're waiting on Bernard Shira, maybe I could just maybe I could start with the next panelist. So the next panelist is Douglas Njugu. He's a market and technology advisor at Innovation Norway. Maybe you could introduce yourself, Douglas, and say a few words about yourself and Innovation Norway.
So as Jonas has just introduced me, my name is Douglas Njugu, and my sole responsibility with Innovation Norway is working with technological solutions and entities from Norway that are interested for market opportunities in East Africa. So just in a nutshell, Innovation Norway is the policy instrument of the national government of Norway. So basically they assist developing value in creating businesses for companies in and out of Norway.
Thank you so much, Douglas. I think the next panelist is a good friend from Norway, Simon Ruud, who is the program manager at the Factory Accelerator in Norway. Welcome.
Jonas, and thank you for the invite. Yes, my name is Simon Ruud, and I'm the program director at the factory and one of the co-founders. For the last couple of years, I've been screening the fintech market in Norway and also the proptech market. So I have a really good knowledge when it comes to the fintech sector. And the factory is an accelerator for early stage fintechs and proptechs. We have been running so far over 10 accelerator programs and invested in 40 companies in the Nordics. So it's been a cool journey, and I'm glad to be here. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Simon. Our next speaker is Trine Rohrmann, who is Head of International Affairs at Norway Health Tech. Hi, Trine.
Yes, nice to be with you today. My name, as you said, is Trine Rohrmann, Head of International Affairs in Norway Health Tech, which is Norway's largest health technology cluster. We are a non-governmental organization. And we have 280 members approximately, and of these are 250 private companies. So we help them, to scale, and we are working towards different markets outside of Norway as well as inside Norway. And I'm sorry, I have somebody is making noise behind me, but I think it will work out fine.
Okay.
I'm happy to be with you today.
Thank you so much, Trine. And we couldn't actually hear anything in the background noise, so I think it's all good. Even if we did, it's fine. Perfect. I see that Bernard Shira will join us shortly. I think he has some technical issues, but maybe we can just start off. Douglas, since you are a good connection between Kenya and Norway, could you just give us a short brief about when it comes to Norwegian companies in Norway, from Norwegian companies in Kenya, which sectors are they mainly involved in, and what kind of companies or technologies do they work with?
Whenever we are getting requests from Norway, I think the most sector that is being looked out is renewable energy, ICT, and agriculture. So with agriculture, there's a combination of agri-tech. Where there are technological solutions for the livestock side and also technological solutions for the agricultural side. So those are the three key areas that has a lot of interest for Norwegian companies that are looking not only in Kenya, but within the East Africa region.
I see. Thank you so much for that. My next question is for Trine. In terms of Norway Health Tech and the kind of companies you work with, what kind of areas are they mainly focusing on?
Well, we have focused so far on, especially on the medtech sector, but also in digital and telehealth sector. But our companies, they are delivering health solutions in all kinds of human health. So it depends on what kind of market they are looking at. When also when it comes to heading towards Kenya and other markets. So it depends. It depends.
Yeah. Absolutely. Just to follow up here, how has COVID-19 kind of impacted the startups that you work with? And in that case, I would assume it's been both towards a positive way and also maybe some of the negative way, in the sense that, or how would you look at that?
It was a question for me, or?
Yes, it was a follow-up question, sorry.
Yeah. Yes, well, we have been working quite a lot with the different startup companies because we got some new ones based on the pandemic, and we have the old ones that have been working on the new solutions or solutions that they already had, and then it worked quite well when COVID-19 came along because they had solutions that could help out in the pandemic. So we have had, and we have startup companies that we are trying to help to test and verify in Norway, but also in different markets. So we are running webinars, for example, with different markets where companies from Norway, startup companies from Norway, can pitch their COVID-19 solutions towards experts and hospitals and municipalities in different regions to meet the needs and the challenges that they have due to the COVID-19 situation. And we see that this the demand is increasing because of the COVID-19.
I see. Interesting. I think I can refer my next question to Bernard Shira. Or is your mic? I think you're on mute. Okay, it's working.
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. Maybe we can just start with a quick introduction and then I can jump to my question.
Okay. So my name is Bernard Shira. I am the chair of ASSEK, and I also run an accelerator program that focuses on innovation in assistive technology called Innovate Now. And yeah, I am passionate about supporting startups and building startup ecosystems.
Cool. So my question to you, Bernard, because you've been in Norway twice and for Oslo Innovation Week. What was some of your takeaways and insight or learnings that you made during your visits?
Wow, I mean, I think for me, the interaction with the Norwegian partners, innovation ecosystem, and even the Norwegian government has been quite, I would say resourceful. I think the first time we started this partnership, what came out is, there is such a great interest to merge and have a global mindset about some of the issues we're all trying to address. When we took our startups to Oslo Innovation Week, they were addressing, when they pitched, I think there was a genuine interest in some of the issues they were addressing. And some of them actually got investment right after coming back from Norwegian investors through your support. So I feel like, it has provided a platform for the world to engage better and to understand what are the issues driving, what are the priorities and what are the issues that innovation should be driving across the world. So one of my impressions, for example, is that I was running a very unique program, and when I went to talk about disability innovation, there was, quite a lot of interest, both from the sector and also from the Norwegian foreign development, to see how this work can actually be supported. So it's been quite a great experience. We've built great partnerships and are continuing to work today with ICT Norway and Pangea and other Norwegian partners.
Okay, cool. Thank you so much. I'm going to come back to a follow-up question about Norway later on. But my next question is to Simon. We actually did an event at the factory when we had this Kenya delegation at last Oslo Innovation Week. So thank you for that. I highly appreciate it. But you as a factory, you also been working with some startups that are within fintech and also been focusing on emerging markets like Africa and so on. Could you tell me a little bit about what kind of companies you work with, and then maybe some of the what are the challenges they're having when they're trying to enter new markets?
That's right. We invested in 40 startups so far, and I think 3 of them are actually operating in Africa. So Jonas, your company, our Pangea Accelerator, is actually one of our portfolio startups. But we also invested in Divala. So Divala is a identity platform, digital identity platform. So basically, if you go to school, you can get your diploma in Divala app, and also you can get other certifications on the app. So they are over in Uganda now and operating there, and like trying to really dig into the market and see the potential. And also we had Vatero in our portfolio. They are putting up solar panels around cities, small villages actually, to give lights to the village down there. So but the challenge that we see, I mean, in general in fintech in Norway and everywhere, I guess, is the funding and regulations. Things take time. Finance licenses to operate. It's a big issue for a lot of startups. They have to wait for months, maybe a year, to really start with their concept, and that's something that is we need to change. And also, you see funding in general. I think a lot of startups are just spending time on always trying to find funding, and then we see a lot of new. In the fintech space in Norway, at least, we see a lot of new ways to get funding, and I think this will help the startups in the future to really not spend too much time on that, but more time on developing their business. So,
yeah, I see what you're saying. I think it's a lot of similarities in the Kenyan startup ecosystem, that startups spend way too much time on fundraising and so on. Trina, my question: do you find that the kind of challenges that Simon was saying about the startups they work with, is there a lot of commonalities with this kind of startups that you work with also? Regulation and these kind of things?
Yeah, I think for at least for the health industry, it takes quite a long time to go to a new market, and it takes a lot of money as well. And to be a startup and to go abroad, and especially to go abroad from into a different region, it takes years, and it takes a lot of money. And then you are at the same time as you're trying to scale into a new market, you also have to look for money constantly. And since you're a young startup, you don't have a lot of resources. So I think this is one of the hurdles many startup companies are experiencing, because they would like to go much faster than they are able to do, based on the struggle they have to get enough money to scale. But I think for some of the accelerating programs as well, they might be too narrow to fit the different startup or the solutions that the startup companies have. And at least the health, it takes a lot of time also to innovate and to verify and to test the different solutions. And usually they need, in every new market they go to, they need to go through a new regulation in that particular market. So it takes a lot of time and it costs money.
I hear you.
So I agree with Simon.
I see.
Basically.
When it comes to one of the opportunities, I think, at least when it comes to digital collaboration, is actually when it comes to agile policy. I feel like regulations and things takes way too long time. But I feel like here, this is an area where countries like Kenya could potentially create an edge if obviously if there was, like these kind of test beds that or sandboxes for regulations or other things. The reason I'm saying that is because if you look at countries like Rwanda, for example, they decided very early on to be positioned themselves as wanting to be top, one of the top countries in the world within drone technologies. And then suddenly what happens is that you have drone companies from Silicon Valley moving to Rwanda because of the licensing that they were not able to get in the US or Silicon Valley. And suddenly Rwanda is able to attract best drone companies from all over the world. I think Tanzania is doing the same. So in terms of, being first in terms of regulation and creating a sandbox, specifically because you have less infrastructure, you also have less bureaucracy, if you know what I mean. This is maybe a thought for Bernard and Douglas. I don't know, feel free to jump in, but do you see opportunities within these areas also, or is it me just being, that's too optimistic?
I'll tackle it from the Norwegian side. So there are a couple of programs which Innovation Norway is facilitating within Africa. One program known as Enterprise Development for Jobs, and another program known as Vision 2030. The aim of these jobs are to facilitate development in African countries, and most of the time the implementation partner is a local company. So this brings about a collaboration between a Norwegian company and a local company. So in just a nutshell of what, for example, the Enterprise Development Job program is, it's basically poverty reduction program that is a scheme funded by funds from NORAD, which is the Norwegian aid. And it includes the project funding, that is the grant scheme, competence services, and these programs are managed by NORAD, and also us as Innovation Norway, we assist in business-related advice and partner search. So just in to focus on how this scheme basically works, is that NORAD does provide the grants to these activities that contribute to early phase project development. So there is normally openings once a year or twice in a year on NORAD's website. And the particular activities are activities that limit commercial risk before an investment decision. And what NORAD does is that it provides 50% funding, and the minimum amount required for funding is normally 0.5 million NOK. That is, I think, 5 million Kenyan shillings, if I'm not wrong. Yeah. And the key priority areas where this program, the key focus areas are energy, agriculture, ICT, maritime, fish, marine resources. So the good thing is that there are programs already there in place that enable a collaboration between two different countries, between Norway and, let's say, Kenya, and which involves companies also both from the Norwegian side and also from the local side.
Interesting. Thank you so much for sharing that. And I think that's a very, very relevant add-on, because what you're saying is that there is already a foundation that we can build more collaboration on, and that, if there are partners on both sides that want to engage in digital collaboration, ICT, or some of the sectors you mentioned, then there are players like NORAD and the Enterprise Development Jobs program that can kind of facilitate that. Do I understand it correctly?
Yes, and just to wrap up, just to explain further the Vision 2030, because I had told you there are two programs. So the Vision 2030 program, it was initiated in 2014 through a national brainstorming effort to come up with innovative solutions that can help achieve the SDGs within education and health in particular. So the objective of this program was to promote a poverty reduction in countries that are already receiving Norwegian development assistance. through developing and scaling innovative solutions within the health and education sector. So this program is actually ongoing, and it's a program that actually there are already existing programs in Tanzania, in Uganda, and also in Kenya, whereby as almost as similar as EDFJ, whereby the local partners are local companies, ministries of the government, and also and then the partners, that is Innovation Norway, NORAD, Norwegian Research Center. They take part as partners to some of these key programs programs already in development. And the priority of this program is basically in the following in the southern sub-Saharan countries such as Ethiopia, Ghana, Kenya, Tanzania, Uganda, and African countries actually on the south of Sahara are normally given a priority to these programs and these projects. So you'll find that the reason why maybe you might not know that it's a program that is run by Innovation Norway or run by NORAD is because what Innovation Norway and what NORAD and the other partners normally do is that they provide funding to entities such as the UN, and then the UN then source up the local partners now to implement these projects. But already there are existing programs, and it's good that I already know that there is more focus to continue with such programs in East Africa generally.
Great, thank you for that. Very, very relevant. Bernard, in hindsight of what Douglas just said about both Vision 2030 and also the enterprise development jobs and this foundation being there, which areas would you like to see more collaboration between Kenya and Norway, and where do you see big opportunities?
Yeah, thanks, Jonas. I mean, I think opportunities abound. When I look at trends that are global and relevant, these themes are cutting across, but also in Europe. I think, there's a lot of opportunities in energy, especially to look at renewable energy and how to build sustainable solutions. I think there is immense opportunities as well to do work around human issues. We've begun at one of the examples of how we need to start looking at innovation from inclusive.
Bernard, I think we're losing you.
We also have circular.
Yeah, Bernard, I think you're jumping quite a lot. So I think it seems like the internet may be unstable. Maybe it's better now. Okay,
yeah,
it's a delay.
I'll go quickly if you can hear me. So there's a delay. Okay, so can
I think what
stop
I think
my
what
video.
We do, Bernard, I will just refer my question to the next panelist, and then I can come back to this question later.
Yeah.
Great. My next question is to Simon. First of all, did you know about these programs that Douglas mentioned? Or is that news?
I heard about them, but they're not in fintech, right? It's more other sectors, so I don't know too much about them.
Okay. How about you, Trine? Have you heard about them before?
No, I have not. But it might have been, I have to say, in my email box, even though I haven't read it through. But we have been at the African Business Health Forum and the symposium to get some idea on the health challenges in Africa and how the startup and scale-ups from the Norwegian part could have interest in the different countries and regions in Africa. So we have tried to look into the different programs being there, but we didn't match them all. So no, I haven't heard about this one.
I get it. No, this is not a quiz on programs and so on. Just out of curiosity. But now that we know that they're there, for example, within the healthcare sector, Trine, do you think there are many players or some players that will be interested in collaborating and are also looking at, for example, bringing health tech solutions to the African market from your?
Yeah, definitely. We have different companies with solutions going to looking at the African market, and I think that's something we could collaborate more closely on and look into. I have to say that we have been working quite good with NABA, the Norwegian African Business Association. And they have been the most relevant network for us and for the Norwegian companies coming from health tech, working towards the African market so far. And we are usually attending their annual symposium here in Norway as well, with members from different parts of Africa. And then we are setting up meetings with the health persons and meeting. We have a lot of meetings during this annual meetings, and we have to say also when robotics was mentioned here and the drones, and we have also been looking at some collaboration when it comes to drones and department of medication used by drones to pick up medication somewhere and to drop it off somewhere else. So it's a lot of things going on that could be of interest for Norwegian companies.
Okay, interesting. There is a company in Rwanda called, I forgot it. That transports blood and medicine. What's the name? Can you help me?
Zipline.
Zipline, yeah, that's it, Zipline. And one of the reasons they did that was because they wanted to do this in the US, but then they got stuck in regulations, and then Rwanda opened up, I don't know, 5-7 years ago on this, and decided to be one of the first in the world. And then they basically moved down to basically test their technologies. And as you want to supply to the healthcare sector, you need to go through this checklist, and most preferably you need to already be out on the market. But since nobody wants to use your product because you're not on the market, then you're stuck. So it's like the hens and egg problem, right? And what Rwanda did there was shortcut it by saying, okay, US too complicated, here we make it less complicated. So they offer this kind of licensing that then could be extended, and through that Zipline is now valued over $1 billion actually. Is one of the first unicorns in Africa. Yeah, it's pretty interesting. For me, I'm very into that. I definitely believe that in the innovation ecosystem, by being first, Africa could have a very interesting position, because then as a country also working with the latest technologies, and you actually attract the most technologically advanced companies. It's a really smart way of brain sourcing and technology sourcing to a geographical location, basically. Either way, I'm not going to jabber on too much about that. But Trine, if you look at, for example, assistive technology and this program that Bernard was mentioning, because I assume that assistive technology is also a relevant area within the Norwegian healthcare system, right? Do you see opportunities here between collaboration between the Norwegian Nordic assistive technology sector and also the African assistive technology sector?
Yeah, I think it's a lot of common interesting grounds there. We are working with assistive technologies, of course, especially when it comes to COVID-19 as well. So yes, to put it short, yes, we are We have companies with solutions, and we are always looking for new solutions to meet the needs in Norway when it comes to this. And I think when it comes to this demand is when it comes to in assistive technology, it's a demand that you have not only from Kenya or from Norway, but you have demand from all over the world based on COVID-19, where you have also the social interaction is not supposed to happen in the same way as it has been 1 year ago. So then we are looking into this kind of technologies with more interest than we did 1 year ago. And I think this is something that we'll see also in the future, where we have telehealth and we have assistive technologies and we have rehabilitation taking place in people's home more than at the hospital, for example, or a care home. And this development will be a part of, I think it will be a part of the experience that we have now during the COVID-19. It will change the way we think and the way we are doing the health behave or the health treatment.
Absolutely. Very interesting. Bernard, maybe I ask you the same question. Do you see opportunities of collaboration between the assistive technology sector in Africa and Norway or Nordic countries?
Thanks, Jonas. Absolutely. I think it's one of the sectors that has global relevance, but different dynamics. When you look at Europe and most of the developed world, the demand for assistive products and services is driven by age, while when you look at what's happening in most low and middle income countries is a lot of youth who have disabilities due to different reasons. And one of the interesting things is that you could actually have solutions that are scalable and have relevance from Kenya to Norway, for example. I'll give a very interesting example. One of the entrepreneurs in our first cohort is building electric wheelchairs for Africa. But if you look at how he's designing these wheelchairs, he's designing them with the African terrain and conditions in mind, but he's also borrowing interesting concepts from countries like Norway, for example, circular economy, where you recycle a lot of electronic parts to build some of these parts that are required for wheelchairs here. I was in Norway, and one of the things I saw on the streets is a lot of kick scooters or like scooters.
People don't like
them. Yeah, I mean, and I can imagine that they might be a nuisance, but think about if some of those parts could be used to build solutions. But in essence, I think the opportunity that lies is this idea about inclusion, because you're talking about the COVID experience basically has helped everyone understand what social barriers mean, because for a long time, persons with disability have been saying, okay, the reason I'm not able to participate or to do or to function is not because of my disability, it's because that the environment hasn't been built with me in mind. And I think the parallels between COVID-19 and, for example, the gap in assistive technologies is, for example, when we had this a shortage of testing kits and materials, and that creates local shortage, and a lot of us have had to wait for the vaccine because we can't keep up with the testing. We can't keep up for building local capacity for this type of things. So I think the possibilities that are coming out also is that there are some stereotypes like working from home that for a long time persons with disabilities have been looking at as a possibility. Like if I have my assistive devices, I could work from home. But now everyone is working from home, and it was mandatory, otherwise you would get coronavirus. But it's actually proving that there's a lot we can learn and change how society functions, and start investing in human potential. And that's what assistive technology does. And there's a lot to be done, both from an innovation perspective. We need investment in this sector in Africa so that we can create local products and services. Otherwise, it becomes very expensive when we import all our assistive products and services from abroad. And that is the work we're trying to do in Kenya. So I think it's an emerging sector when you look at it from an innovation lens, but with so much potential for collaboration, both from a resource perspective in terms of investment, but also from an expertise perspective. There is a lot of expertise from Norway and other countries in the area of disability and rehabilitation that we could share, best practices on some of the things and how to leapfrog some of the challenges. We don't need to take 100 years to make Nairobi, for example, an accessible city. If we prioritize it now and learn how inclusive cities in the world have done it, we can start creating an equal society. And I think conversations around this topic have to be had now because the timing is just right. So maybe there are some good things that came out of the COVID situation that we can learn from.
Very good point there, Bernard. And I think just want to emphasize on why the timing is now. I think COVID is, definitely a perspective because it's been an eye-opening effect, and it's been the biggest disruptor, of technology. It hasn't been these chief innovation officers and these strategical processes that goes triple down. It's been this boom, and then everybody's trying to figure out, and then they see, oh, it's working, and now we're like, oh yeah, we're so digitalized and everybody's so used. But it's interesting how disruption happens and from which end it comes, both planned disruption and unplanned. But something I would like to discuss also here, when it comes to the timing, is that something that most people don't know is that Africa is urbanizing like crazy. And when I say like urbanizing like crazy, basically every week a new Paris will be built in the next 50 years. That's how fast it's going. And if these new Parises are being designed without having, the end user in mind, and specifically here, say people with disability and other kind of problems, then you're building these dumb cities all over, right? While if you can now make sure that we collaborate, use, best practices, have expert kind of networks and collaboration, we can kind of make sure that as we're spending the resource and actually building these new societies, let's build them right rather than, build them badly and then we need to go and redo it. Because that's usually how I see, for example, assistive technology. It's like an architect creating a building, and then when it's done, they're like, oh no, people with wheelchair, and then they have to figure out, and then it becomes very expensive, right? Now it's obviously been better because, it's more regulations and frameworks and so on, at least in the Nordic countries. But I think it's an interesting point that I really wanted to emphasize on. But my next question is to Simon. And my question here is going to be about fintech and the financial sector. The reason I want to ask you about this is because Kenya is currently world leader with mobile money and has been that for a long time. In Norway, we have something called Vips, which Norwegians love. E-scooters, not so much. Some young kids love them, but old people and moms, they absolutely hate them. And I think it's a great idea about turning them into wheelchairs. I think that will might actually make you mayor of Oslo, Bernard, if you decided to go for it. No, but Simon, when it comes to the fintech sector here, it's extremely progressive. It's like the Silicon Valley of it. And Vips came out in 2007 here, so it's been out for a long time. And since then, it's just been developing further. So we have a lot of interesting fintech companies here. But so I was thinking that from the audience also, that it could be interesting maybe to have an understanding about the fintech sector in Norway and maybe also the Nordics. Which areas do you see being interesting for startups to what kind of problems are interesting to solve in the Nordic sector, in the Nordic fintech sector, for those that are looking at that?
Yeah. That's a good question. Just to we started the factory in 2016, and I remember we mapped all the startups. You know, it was around 40 startups in Norway within fintech, and today there's over 150 fintech. So it's growing rapidly, and especially in payments. Like you said, we have Vipps. It's one of the leading fintechs in Norway when it comes to payments. But in Africa, you had Vipps back in 2007, I will say. I mean, you have mobile payments solution there, and we were 10 years later than you guys with this solution. But we are also one of the leaders when it comes to payments. I think we are ranked 2 or something after Africa when it comes to mobile payment solutions. But I mean, if you tap into the Norwegian market within fintech, there's a lot of opportunities. We are strong in saving apps. There's enough. We have
no more saving.
Okay. There's so many. But still, now what you can tap into is insurance. There's barely any players in Norway doing something with insurance. So that's an open field, I will say. So if you have a solution with that, you should check out the Norwegian market. And also in general, I think the banks, they're open to look at other solutions outside Norway. So why not take a chat with them and see if you have a solution that can fit into the bank. But what I really think here is that the hubs, I mean, the ecosystem in Norway within fintech should really sit down with the ecosystem in Africa and see, okay, here's the list of fintechs. Let's look at the trends. How can this solution fit into your market and opposite? Because I mean, we have 140 startups, and if we look at all of them, and you see, okay, in Africa, there is a need for this kind of solution, then we could try to match that, and opposite. So this is up to the ecosystem to figure out, okay, how can we do this?
Interesting. I have to say one thing, Simon. Since the topic of this is digital collaboration partnership for innovation, I think what you just said there was spot on. Definitely do something like that. Yeah, I mean, it makes a lot of sense. And it's also collaboration that benefits both sides. You know, it's like, so it's a really, and it's within digitalization and innovation where fintech is moving. It's not within cash, you know. And even if Norway is behind Kenya, it's still way ahead of Germany, US, and the rest of the world. So it's really, you know, in that sense, also relevant learning both ways. And like you said about the financial sector in Norway, I know not everybody, I think, but there are some that are actually interested in the international market. And as a bank, they have learned that the best way of avoiding to become disrupted is to stay ahead. So they always want to have a peek into the future. And in this case, the future would be Kenya, since, you know, as explained with M-Pesa. So I think that was really interesting. But you said something before, Simon, that I would like to go back to. You mentioned crowdfunding, and you said that there's opportunities there. What did you mean with that? What's so interesting with crowdfunding?
Oh yeah, the crowdfunding is growing fast now. There's a lot of startups getting licensed to operate as a crowdfunding platform, and that is equity crowdfunding, lending crowdfunding, donation crowdfunding. So instead of going and getting money from all these angel investors and VC funds, you basically put your startups into a crowdfunding platform, and you get money there. And during COVID, it's been one of the best way to get cash. It's a fast way to do it. I mean, it has pros and cons. I mean, you get a lot of people on the cap table, but still, but still, it's a fast way to do it. And why couldn't, for example, African startups be on a crowdfunding platform in Norway? That should be possible. I mean, and opposite. So I think there's a huge opportunity there, and also you see all this peer-to-peer solution coming without involving the banks. So yeah, just new ways to finance your startups is coming. And
I like what you're saying, but has some of the startups you work with used crowdfunding now during COVID to fundraise, and how has it gone for them?
yeah, we had 4 startups using crowdfunding during COVID actually. So one of the startups called Norquant, they were supposed to get 3 million kroners.
That's about 300,000 euros.
Oh yeah, it's 400,000 euros or something. But they ended up getting the double because it was like overfunding and so on. So and they did this in, I think it was 1 week. It was just insane how fast it went. So
okay, that's very good result.
Yeah, but like 2 years ago, there was no way you could do this.
So do you think so COVID is what's changed? So basically something happened during COVID and suddenly people are now comfortable investing online through crowdfunding platform. Do I understand it correctly?
Yeah, that's true.
Okay, interesting. So we're more comfortable taking decisions online, basically.
Yeah.
So it's new. It's a
more
new
curious.
Yeah.
You also saw that with a lot of crypto and so on. People have been investing in that. They're now trying to see how if they can invest in other than stocks.
Yeah.
So.
Exactly. Yeah, that's another thing, right? Because the stock market has kind of gone like this and it's been very volatile. It went down, up, and now down again. So I think also maybe that's an element where people are looking at other kind of funding opportunities that might be outside of the traditional financial market. Yeah. Interesting. My next question is for you, Douglas. So now we went quite deep into both health tech and assistive tech, and now we got a little bit nerdy about fintech opportunities and discussed, collaborations within, for example, the startups meeting and so on. Which areas do you see opportunities for collaboration? But would you like to see more collaboration between, the ecosystems of Norway and Kenya outside of those you mentioned? Yeah.
Also, I think Simon had asked about if some of those grants support fintech, and actually Vision 2030 actually does support fintech. And I'll after this call, I can do an email introduction to the guy at Innovation Norway who runs the Vision 2030. So maybe both you and Trin can just have a call with him and just to familiarize more about that program and how it works, especially the fact that you are saying there are projects that are focused here in Africa, and that's the main purpose of that particular program. So for Jonas, I think the entrepreneurship space has this year has been quite active. That is from my side. There is during February, during the business delegation, we actually did and you remember quite well, we did an entrepreneurship program known as EMAX, which is normally done in Sweden and Norway. So it was the first one to be done in Africa. And after the program, they saw the potential that's in the country, and they are thinking of now how are we going to make EMAX more of a program rather than a one-off event. And I thought that's a good highlight for also individuals from the Norwegian sector to view it and see. And also there has been a key interest of Spark. Spark is an incubation from NTNU, which is the Norwegian University of Technology. And they have been looking into partnership with a Kenyan university into creating also a program of entrepreneurship development, whereby there can be knowledge transfer programs between students from NTNU and also from Kenya, whereby they can be able to do an exchange program of some sort. So I think a key sector that I would also like to see it grow is basically the startup side, the ICT side, and the e-health sector. There has been a lot of inquiries on those sectors, and I think also with COVID, it's providing a lot of opportunities from some of these services, both on the ICT sector and also on the e-health sector.
Interesting. Thank you so much for sharing that. How do you look at education, collaboration within that? Because it's also been a sector that's been totally disrupted by COVID, with children staying from home, and then suddenly everything going online, and then schools not necessarily being, very digital or having necessarily all the content online. What do you see any opportunities within that sector also?
Yeah. So actually, in the Vision 2030 upcoming projects, that is 2021, the main focus is education and health. The reason why the main focus is education and health, they are thinking of how COVID has disrupted a lot of the education side, and how there are kids that don't have the opportunity to learn, and so they are really looking into projects that can assist in the edtech sector and the health sector also, because of COVID itself. So what are the solutions that can be able to assist here in Africa to combat some of these challenges? So for the 2021 program, it's actually purely focused on health and education for those particular purposes.
Perfect. I think you're making it very easy for everybody listening to understand how this works and how to utilize it to create, product with great outcomes on both sides. I also see there's some activities here on the chat. I see that Sami Kibe is thanking you, Douglas, for organizing the AMAX. He was one of the attendees. So it's nice to have a shout out. I also see here that it's one startup that thought of that got very interested when talking about insurance tech, Simon. So this is from Irene and Doritu, saying that they are basically aggregator for insurance, and yeah, she might be reaching out to you, by the way. Cool.
And also for Irene, maybe there is a Norwegian company called DD Finance here in Kenya that are actually their main project right now is providing insurance for the low income individuals. And so far the progress is quite good. Maybe that can also be an opportunity to understand and to interact with them.
Very good. I like that there's activities on the chat, and also if there's anybody listening in that has any questions and so on, kindly just write them on the chat, or if you want to do shout out like you did to Amax and Douglas, kindly do that, or any kind of connections. We're very, ASSEK is all about the spirit of collaboration. And Bernard, my next question is for you. This is because ASSEK is an association where you have tech hubs all over Kenya. Can you tell us a little bit about that? And also, maybe we can just start there.
Great. Thanks, Jonas. So ASSEK was built on this idea that you can support entrepreneurs. It takes a village to support one entrepreneur and for them to become successful. So I think when you look at the Kenyan ecosystem and how the support side for startups has grown, is we went from one hub in 2010 to hundreds of them today. So the thing is, when you look at how critical these enablers are in this whole equation of creating success, then you want to create a voice and a unifying platform for that space so that they can deal with ecosystem challenges, so challenges that affect everyone, and make it better for startups and basically their and also SMEs, not just startups, for them to thrive. So some of the work we focus on, for example, is the policy area and how we can give a voice to entrepreneurs and the enablers so that they can actually engage with the lawmakers to understand what the needs are. There's a very vibrant discussion currently happening around a startup bill, and ASSEK has been facilitating that conversation to improve what has been recommended by the Senator of Nairobi. We also try to look at, how do we build an environment where, there is basic respect and inclusion and kind of good practice on how to support entrepreneurship and to collaborate. So one of the projects we did, with the support of ICT Norway and our collaboration, is this code of conduct idea, where the idea is we know what has been kind of the bad practice. How do we make it known that, okay, even though this is not, like rules and regulations for you to follow, it's like, how can everyone understand what is good for the ecosystem and what is bad for the ecosystem, and naturally adapt that.
This would be like, don't steal people's idea, don't be like a predatory, like the basics, right? Yeah.
Exactly. So stuff like that. And I know these things they may feel basic sometimes, but I think when you operate in an environment where nobody has defined or highlighted this, then when these things happen, it becomes difficult to address them. We also look at this idea on how do you build collaborations that can actually give more value to entrepreneurs. And we're talking about collaboration amongst the enablers, but also with other stakeholders coming from outside, for example, also with government. And these are big topic. And I think it's this mentality that we are not in a bubble and that Kenya is on the map, on the global map. And you want to create relationships that can help entrepreneurs here thrive and also create a globally competitive startup ecosystem. And I think we've done a lot of activities here as well, including taking startups to Oslo Innovation Week, and also trying to do projects with Norwegian companies. We also look at how do you build capacity, because we strongly feel like if we are to improve the standards of supporting entrepreneurs, then there's definitely like areas of improvement and kind of sharing best practices and also adopting some standards around how we operate. And I think there's been a lot of work to kind of raise the quality of support for entrepreneurs that we have been championing at ASSEK. And we also look at empowerment. So looking at things like inclusive innovation, for example, how do you ensure that women, children, persons with disability, also are getting the opportunity to participate in the innovation ecosystem, and also that we are attracting resources and partnerships that can help this to happen. And I think, one of the achievements we are very proud of just within a year is having been able to really create a platform and attract partners who have given us an opportunity to address some of the ecosystem issues, and also to create a structure that allows this to be by the ecosystem for the ecosystem. So ASSEK is a membership organization. Anyone who runs an innovation hub can apply to be a member, and also to the leadership of ASSEK. My term as chairman ends in March, and we are already transitioning into the new leadership with the incoming board, and kind of encouraging ecosystem players to take that active role. So basically what we believe in is that if the enablers are stellar, you're going to have stellar startups. So it's making sure that we have like with the partnerships we signed today with countrywide innovation hubs, what we're talking about is grassroots trickle down of this capacity, resources, policy issues. So we want to work with emerging hubs from all over Kenya and to give them the same visibility and support that hubs in Nairobi are getting. We also, signed partnership with Brighter, and UK Kenya Tech Hub. And the whole idea is really to create visibility for our hubs as well on a global scale. And I think when conversations around the ecosystem become, a common topic that we all want to address, eventually it's going to be a win-win for everyone. And also we like connecting. connecting people. We want investors to know what's happening in the lakeside. We have, for example, now the Lake Basin Innovation Week happening there, and it's all about building these relationships. It's gonna take time. We're just 1 year old, but I think it's very encouraging already. Some of the work we've been able to do.
Nice. Thank you so much for that, Bernard. I see that we are soon running out of time. I will, because I also want to have like an ending remarks from you guys. But I will see if there's something on the chat here that we could ask. I see also that some of the panelists are active and answering. So thank you so much for that. I see that Trina has been active also. Yeah, I guess it's one question for you, Douglas. If you could mention a little bit about these two programs and what has been achieved, and also maybe how do people plug into it? I think you mentioned something about NORAD and the website. Yeah, please.
So for the programs, so which programs are there? Are the entrepreneurship programs or the EDFJ and
yeah, I think it's I think it's a Vision 2030 and the Enterprise Development for Jobs that Sami is asking for.
Okay, yeah. So I'll just explain both so that in case it was the latter. So for the Vision 2030 and Enterprise Development Job programs, those are available for the Norwegian companies. So it's up to the Norwegian companies that are making initiatives in Kenya for them to apply for those programs. So when the Norwegian companies apply for those programs, then they can work with it. They have to work. It's a must for them to work now with a local partner who is a Kenyan company or a Kenyan entity. That's how the two programs work. But for the other programs that I had talked about, like the entrepreneurship programs with the universities, they had started, but immediately COVID broke out because there was a lot of interaction with the schools, with the universities. And once they closed down, I think now they're looking into renewing that conversation again, probably the beginning of next year.
Okay. Thank you so much, Douglas. I think you captured everything there. Since we only have 3 minutes left, I would first of all really like to thank all the panelists. I think you've been very interesting. I think this has been a very interesting conversation. Definitely going to follow up on what you said, Simon, about this fintech setup. So expect an email from me. And Trina, I will also follow up with you. I think also Bernard might, in terms of the assistive technology and also other areas. You mentioned that you collaborate with NABA. I think they're a good partner. I think also there's other partners that could enable you some interesting insight and some new partnerships also. And specifically here, I think in terms of bureaucracy hack, if you could take down the process of getting your product to market from 1 year to 3 months, then that would be a relevant problem, which I think that might find some interesting areas for. And then also Douglas, really appreciate that you shared this information about both the programs and also all your insight. I think that was very appreciated from everybody that's been listening in. And Bernard, like always, you're the chairman. Highly appreciated. And maybe we just finalize with, if everybody could do like a 30-second wrap up of maybe some of the takeaways, or maybe some of, if there's something else you would like to say before we close down. Maybe I start with you, Bernard, since we finished. Yes.
Yeah, thanks, Jonas. I think for me, what I would like to end with is our theme for this year at the inaugural ASSEK conference is more value for ESOs, entrepreneur support organizations. And I think that means more value for entrepreneurs. I think that's the heart of the issue. And I think the way we create this value is by building partnerships and collaborations that address areas of real opportunity, some of which we have discussed now. So I hope all of you are going to follow up and do something meaningful after this conference, so that next time we meet, we're gonna share about the awesome collaborations happening. Thank you.
Very inspiring. Yes, Douglas, Simon, Trina, who wants to be next? Trina, here you go. Mic is yours.
Yes, I think it also been quite interesting being a part of this. Looking forward to your email, Jonas. I wrote in the chat about Nordic Proof. I think just 20 seconds about Nordic Proof. It is a network of partners from health institutions in the Nordics. And being a startup or a scale company, you can apply to be a part of that network and to test your idea or product or solution, and you will be redirected to one of the health institutions. And this is the one and only one initial entry point for health companies coming into the Nordics. So, for example, if you are looking at the Norwegian health market, instead of going to 5 million inhabitants, you're going to 25 million inhabitants if you do it through a Nordic Proof. So that's quite interesting. And I have to say, from the health industry, we are fast growing when it comes to scale-ups. We have a growth in scale-ups in 10% yearly. So it's a lot of new things coming out of the health sector, and we are looking forward to also deal more with Kenya and Africa than we do today. 1 out of 3 of the scale-ups are first selling the product on the international market. So they are born globals, and I think that's good for the future, also when it comes to our collaboration. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Trina. Simon, do you want to say some final notes?
Yeah. So just want to finish up with that. The startups, they don't know the potential here, both sides. So it's just for us to push on the pedal and connect them. So
I like that. Okay, the road is straightforward.
Yeah.
I get it. All right, Douglas, do you have any final?
I think I'd like to see more of the governmental collaborations between both Norway and Kenya. And actually, it has like this year there has been a lot of activities between both countries. For example, earlier in the year there was we were planning on a knowledge transfer between the city of Konza and the city of Stavanger. So the city of Stavanger is assisting Konza in understanding on how to design a city. So some of these are some of the programs that I would really love to see more, because they encourage collaborations from both sides.
Perfect. Thank you so much. And for all the panelists, highly appreciate this. I think this was very interesting. For the audience, thank you so much. And ASSEK and all the membership hubs. Thank you. Have a great weekend.